Welcome to Tech Disruptions, deep dives into the technologies reshaping industries, from AI to quantum to biotech. Let's get into it.
175 to 1. That's not a new sporting odds ratio, is it? It's something far more chilling for a specific class of worker in the tech industry.
It's the potential new manager-to-engineer ratio, the maximum theoretical number of engineers one manager could oversee, enabled by AI, and it's sparking what some are calling a manager purge.
A purge? So AI isn't just coming for the coders, it's coming for the people who manage the coders? This isn't just about doing tasks faster, it's fundamentally reshaping the hierarchy.
Precisely. The traditional ratio is somewhere between 7 to 10 engineers per manager. To jump to 175 to 1 indicates a radical shift in what management even is in a tech company.
The 175 to 1 ratio sounds like a sci-fi dystopia for middle management. What exactly does it signify about AI's impact on the management layer?
It signifies that AI tools are capable of absorbing a massive amount of the operational and administrative burden that traditionally falls on managers. Think of it less as a manager being replaced by a robot and more like a manager being given 175 digital lieutenants who handle all the grunt work. These AI tools can track progress, allocate resources, manage schedules, and even perform basic code reviews across a vast number of individual contributors, far beyond human capacity.
So the idea isn't necessarily that one person is managing 175 individuals today, but that the potential for that scale is now technologically feasible because AI is automating the vast majority of the day-to-day oversight?
That's the crux of it. The research points to the potential for this kind of leverage. It's a ceiling of efficiency that AI opens up. Companies are seeing this not just as a way to cut costs, but to scale operations and output in ways previously impossible without a corresponding explosion in management headcount. It's a vision of hyper-efficient teams.
To get concrete, what are these specific, mundane managerial tasks that AI is now automating? This goes beyond just scheduling meetings, correct?
Far beyond. Imagine tasks like generating weekly progress reports from version control systems, identifying bottlenecks in development pipelines, suggesting resource reallocations based on project timelines, or even providing initial drafts for performance reviews based on quantifiable output. AI can sift through mountains of data, code commits, bug reports, communication logs, to give managers an instant, data-driven snapshot of team performance and project health. It can even automate parts of onboarding new team members by providing personalized learning paths and access provisioning.
So it's essentially acting as a super efficient chief of staff, but for multiple teams simultaneously. It takes all the scattered data points that a human manager would painstakingly gather and synthesize, and presents them as actionable insights.
Exactly. And it goes further. Some AI tools are being used for basic code review, flagging common errors or style inconsistencies, or even suggesting refactoring improvements. This frees up human managers from what can be a very time-consuming repetitive process, allowing them to focus on more strategic, architectural decisions or complex problem-solving. It's like having an always-on, always-attentive administrative layer beneath them.
That sounds incredibly powerful for efficiency. But if AI is taking over all those operational and administrative tasks, what's left for the human manager? Does their role just shrink into oblivion, or does it transform into something entirely new?
It transforms significantly. The human manager's role pivots from oversight and coordination to strategic leadership, coaching, and complex problem-solving. They become less about tracking tasks and more about setting vision, fostering team cohesion, developing talent, and navigating highly ambiguous or politically charged situations that AI simply can't handle. The focus shifts to areas requiring emotional intelligence, critical thinking, and nuanced interpersonal skills.
So the soft skills suddenly become the most critical hard skills. A manager's value is no longer in their ability to meticulously track project timelines, but in their capacity to inspire, mentor, resolve interpersonal conflicts, and make judgment calls where data alone isn't enough.
Precisely. It means managers need to evolve. The skills now in demand include prompt engineering to effectively leverage AI tools, a deep understanding of AI's capabilities and limitations, data interpretation, and perhaps most importantly, a heightened sense of empathy and strategic foresight. Those who don't adapt, who cling to the old ways of hands-on task management, are the ones most at risk.
So this isn't just about managers becoming more efficient, it's about the nature of management itself changing. What does this mean for the engineers on these teams? Does this increased AI presence and potentially fewer human managers lead to more autonomy or a feeling of being managed by algorithms?
For engineers, it largely means increased autonomy and higher productivity. AI tools act as individual co-pilots, helping with debugging, generating boilerplate code, suggesting optimizations, and even assisting with documentation. This allows engineers to focus on more complex, creative, and fulfilling aspects of their work. They spend less time on routine tasks and more time on innovation.
So, in theory, an engineer might be able to achieve what 2 or 3 engineers could achieve previously because they have this AI assistant doing all the heavy lifting of repetitive tasks. This, in turn, also contributes to the justification for fewer managers because the teams themselves become exponentially more productive.
That's the other side of the coin. If individual productivity skyrockets, you may need fewer engineers overall to deliver the same output, which then further reduces the need for the traditional management overhead. The dynamic shifts from managing individual tasks to managing highly productive AI-augmented human pods. It implies a leaner, more focused engineering workforce, often working on more abstract and challenging problems.
That sounds like a powerful narrative for efficiency and innovation, but considering the potential downsides, what are the risks of pushing this manager-to-engineer ratio so far and relying so heavily on AI for managerial tasks? What is lost in this transformation?
The risks are significant. One major concern is the loss of human touch, empathy, and nuanced decision-making. AI, despite its capabilities, struggles with complex interpersonal issues, team morale, motivational challenges, and the subtleties of human communication. Imagine an AI attempting to resolve a team conflict or provide sensitive feedback during a performance review. The potential for misinterpretation or an overly mechanistic approach is high.
This suggests a trade-off of efficiency for emotional intelligence. Faster project delivery might be achieved, but at what cost to team cohesion, loyalty, or the ability to navigate true ambiguity and ethical dilemmas?
Exactly. There's also the risk of over-reliance on AI, where human managers might lose their own critical decision-making skills or simply trust AI outputs without sufficient scrutiny. What if an AI hallucinates or generates biased insights based on historical data? This could lead to unfair performance reviews, discriminatory resource allocation, or a lack of creative problem solving. Ethical considerations around data privacy, surveillance, and algorithmic bias become even more pronounced when AI is managing people.
So, while AI can standardize and optimize, it might also homogenize and potentially overlook the truly innovative, outlier ideas or the subtle signs of a struggling team member that only a human could pick up on.
And it raises questions about accountability. If an AI system makes a recommendation that leads to a project failure or a poor personnel decision, who is ultimately responsible? The human manager who signed off on it, the engineer who built the AI, or the company that implemented it? These are complex questions that organizations are just beginning to grapple with.
It sounds like a significant restructuring of corporate power and responsibility. So, why are companies pushing for this? Is it purely about cost savings, or is there a bigger strategic play at hand?
It's multifaceted, but cost savings and scalability are certainly massive drivers. Reducing management overhead directly impacts budgets. But beyond that, it's about competitive advantage and agility. Organizations that can implement these AI-driven structures can potentially develop products faster, respond to market changes more rapidly, and operate with a level of efficiency their competitors cannot match. It's about building a leaner, more responsive organization that can scale without the exponential increase in bureaucracy that typically accompanies growth.
So they're not just trying to replace managers, they're trying to fundamentally re-engineer how work gets done, driven by the new capabilities of AI. It's less about a direct one-to-one replacement and more about creating an entirely new operational model.
That's the ambition. The future organizational structure might look very different. Highly specialized, high-impact human managers overseeing incredibly productive AI-augmented engineering teams. It requires a complete rethink of career paths, training, and the very definition of leadership within a tech enterprise. It's a challenging transition, but the competitive pressures are immense.
This concept of the 175-to-1 ratio really forces a reevaluation of what human managers are for in an AI-driven world. The research suggests that the nature of management is fundamentally changing, moving from operational oversight to strategic leadership and complex human interaction.
It also highlights that while AI can amplify individual productivity significantly for engineers, it also brings into sharp relief the irreplaceable human elements of empathy, nuanced decision-making, and ethical judgment that AI still lacks.
In summary, managers who don't adapt their skill sets to leverage AI and focus on higher-order human capabilities are at risk, while those who do could become incredibly powerful, leading much larger, more productive teams.
And companies are betting big on this efficiency gain, but they face a significant challenge in maintaining team cohesion, fostering innovation, and addressing the ethical complexities that arise from an AI-centric management model.
This raises a couple of big questions. In a world where AI handles so much of the day-to-day, how do organizations truly foster a sense of belonging and culture? And what happens to the human instinct for mentorship and career development when the immediate oversight is increasingly algorithmic?
That's all for this episode of Tech Disruptions. Join us next time as we keep exploring the technologies reshaping our world. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Stay curious out there.